by a fraction of an inch. Either team could have been in a commanding position in that game. I think the Panthers had the opportunity first, and then it looked like the Bruins were going to put it away and go up 4-2. And the puck clanks. I mean, it was like that. I don't know. You weren't a highlight degenerate, but one of the worst sounds in highlight was when you heard that clank of a guy that you needed to score a point, and the pelota would hit the metal up there on the lower part of the wall, and you thought, you complete piece of crap. How could you do that? How could you shank one? I mean, even cursing out Joey Cornblit. Imagine that. Nice Jewish boy playing highlight against all of these guys, these animals from
that grew up playing it their whole life. He's from like Brooklyn.
yeah, the Basque region of Spain. This guy is like a Jewish kid. He grew up on a knish and a bagel and cream cheese. And then if he misplayed one, you were like, Jesus, Joey, what the hell is wrong with you? You're like that with Bobrovsky, though. I mean, he could be the second coming of Terry Sawchuk, and you wouldn't care. Not every goal is the goalie's fault.
The time.
Wake up with Defo by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very special good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest and one Mike Lubitz here on South Florida Live, and an assortment of other platforms that we perform on, including, did you see this big news about Believe Podcasts, Lubie?
Yes, sir.
What do you make of that? I mean, they're expanding their horizons, and now they've connected, and they formed some kind of union with Cumulus Broadcasting or something. Is that right? That's like a big organization.
Talked with our man Bron, the guy who's actually the founder, who we know.
You actually spoke with him? Nice.
I keep in touch with him. We do stuff. We still do stuff there regularly. The guy that always reports on South Florida stuff reached out to me, and I was like, yeah, we actually had this week. We had a great week. I spoke with Kathy Ireland, Dave Barry, and then yesterday we spoke with Jeff Toobin.
Yes.
This is
it's not bad. Yeah, we're making news on Believe. What are you talking about? That's a pretty good assortment of people to have on as interview subjects for guys that are essentially doing sports, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we'd be lucky to go ahead and get an interview with some scrub on the Marlins, and offer that up. A lot of people do that sort of thing, and you're getting top-notch entertainment people.
We are, and I don't know what our connection is with the Cumulus. I was honest with him, but I reached out to Bron. I congratulated him, and he's like, yeah, they have arms everywhere. I'm like, yeah, that works for me. He's like, we'll get out there and they'll sell more for us. I'm like, again, that works for me. He's like, stay tuned, more to come. I'm like, hey, we're here. Just let me know. So
might have to start working harder on that segment, Louie.
They're happy with what we're doing there. That's all. The goal is to do a podcast, and that's what we're doing. And so that's cool. And 5 Reasons is growing, and we're doing our thing. So it's really exciting. We're really happy to hear it.
And, I keep getting a word from our boys at Greenlight Ventures that any day now that this thing is going to pop. Well, it's been going on for 5 months, but these things do tend to proceed very slowly if they go anywhere at all. But we'll see. I'm optimistic about that one. That's the big wazoo right there. Anyway, never mind our personal business here, because we will persist anyway. I don't know. We just have that drive inside of us. We are the Jimmy Butler of podcasting and streaming. We will go on no matter what blows come hard against our chin. We will take the count there. We're not going to be like Ryan Garcia. Although, I mean, that always makes a guy feel a little bit weird, a boxing fan, when somebody that he roots for bows out off a body punch, right? We saw it with Oscar De La Hoya when he fought his middleweight bout against Bernard Hopkins. And then this Ryan Garcia actually went down with a body shot and then never got up. Took a knee. It was like a delayed reaction. I mean, he did get crushed right there in the ribcage section.
If you break,
I don't know. I don't think he did. I think he was actually fine after the fight. He seemed to be fine, but he took the 10 count, and a lot of people were looking, going, "What the hell?
Yeah,
body shot? You got to be kidding me!" It's one thing you get clocked on the chin, but nonetheless, I mean, usually you don't like to see somebody that you root for or admire or think has a lot of ability or that you have money on take the easy way out. I wouldn't have bet Garcia in that fight. No, I would not have bet against Tank Davis. All right, but that's off the beaten path here, boxing. What are we talking about? I mean, holy bird sugar. There was all kinds of stuff going on, in town here just 2 nights ago, and it resumes tonight, Lubie.
Yes, sir.
It resumes tonight, the chase for the Stanley Cup. Is anybody thinking Cup yet? With the Florida Panthers? Cup. I mean, have you started to envision the cup floating around South Florida? Winding up at the elbow room with some Panther scrub. I mean, what do you think? Is anybody thinking Stanley Cup yet? Is it unrealistic to start, formulating some of those thoughts and thinking they actually have a slight chance to be manifested in truth? What do you think about that?
I
Cup.
I'm not. I mean, if other people are, I know Mayo brought it up that he thought they could make a deep run, and he jumped off the bandwagon 3 minutes into the first playoff game.
Yes.
He's actually been proven right, as has been the case. Is if he just listened to the first thing he said and ignored the next five, he'd actually probably be making a lot more money when it came to wagering, at least sports wagering. I think he actually follows his gut when it comes to horse handicapping. That's why he does well.
No, nobody waffles more than Mayo, believe it or not. Although, yeah, in horse racing, he sticks to his guns.
Sports wagering, he's
Sports handicapping. As soon as a goal scores, he's texting you. It's over. He's worse than me. I'm only joking though, but he's serious. Yeah,
he's actually been right. The Panthers have fought hard and look pretty solid. I am not thinking Stanley Cup yet. Look, they can get through this round, even though the Hurricanes or the Devils is who they'd have to play next, aren't easy. You then start to build, at least for me, and be like, okay, all right.
Carolina looked great last night. They trounced the Devils. Now the Devils were coming off 2 nights ago, a difficult Game 7 against the Rangers and a tough out in that series to get out of that series. Carolina had kind of been waiting in the wings. Carolina looked like a vastly superior team last night.
Oh, they're great
to what we've seen, and they looked. I mean, look, maybe they were playing a flat Devils team. I don't know, but they trounced them. They look great. The real Cinderella story. It's probably one nobody will pick up on unless it continues and goes even further beyond what seems to be inconceivable. And that is the Seattle Kraken, a second-year expansion team, still alive. Not only still alive, but up 1-0 on the Dallas Stars with former Panther coach Peter DeBoer behind the bench there. And DeBoer looked stunned. He looked as stunned as he did during most of the Panther games that he was coaching, as the Kraken somehow managed to win in overtime and take a 1-0 lead in that series. Now, if they get out of that series and make it to the conference finals, are you kidding me? I mean, we keep going back to this. I just remember any expansion team. I remember when in 1962, the Mets and the Houston Colt 45s came into Major League Baseball as expansion teams. And you didn't see expansion like this necessarily, not so full bore as you do in baseball. You didn't see it in other sports around that time. Other leagues were more inclined to be contracting than expanding, even though they did expand, and it was very skeptical whether or not that was going to be or prove out to be a good move or not. But they handed these two teams, I mean, the worst hand of cards that you possibly could. I mean, they both should have been doomed forever by the way that they were treated in expansion circumstances, both with the expansion draft and whatever else it was that they were going to be able to, use to collect players. Two of the worst teams you've ever seen. I remember the philosophies were very different, though. The Colt 45s, who became the Astros, ended up, and you would think, too, that some Republican would probably mandate that the Houston, especially in Texas, right, that the governor would make them go back to the name Colt 45 so he can further, enhance the image of guns through sports.
I was going to say, isn't that a gun? I don't know if they're pushing guns. And then I was like, wait, they are pushing guns.
Yes, of course. Everybody should have a Colt 45 in their pocket.
In like 4
People are going to be walking around with holsters like they were cops pretty soon. And that'll be well condoned by, I mean, especially here in Florida, right? It's going to turn back into the Wild West. Never mind the Deep South. Anyway, the Colt 45s went for younger players, equally nondescript. I mean, at least you had heard of some of the New York Mets. And the Mets went for a bunch of older guys they thought might attract attention, and they did attract some attention, but only because they infamously became the worst team in the history of Major League Baseball, with a record of 40-120. So bad, as we've often referenced, that they didn't even want them to make up the other two stinking games. They just said, yeah, that's enough. Case dismissed. This team sucks. Now, 7 years later, they would win the World Series. But that was hardly because of the great advantages that they gained by becoming an expansion team and being handed a perfect platform by Major League Baseball. But hockey, for some reason, I don't know. I mean, the Las Vegas Knights, have they ever missed the playoffs? The Golden Knights?
I don't know.
They may have, but, I mean, how long have they been around? A few years now.
Yeah, like
They,
5 or
they
6
go to the
years.
Stanley Cup final, and didn't they do that in their first year under
Yes.
Gerard Gallant?
Yes.
So what is it about expansion hockey, or is it just that if you assemble the right type of player and they have some kind of symmetry and chemistry like the 95, 96 Panthers did? It took them a couple of years, but the Panthers weren't terrible, if you'll recall, at the very outset. Remember, they just missed the playoffs, I think, their first year by like 1 point. And they were knocking on the door the second year. Roger Nielsen was playing that dreadful strategy, the center ice trap, but they had a bunch of grinders, as they're known in the NHL, and those guys ground their way right into the Stanley Cup final after 3 years. The problem that we have, though, Lubie, it was that was the last thing we really had to cheer for. We are clinging to a memory of being swept in the Stanley Cup as the most amazing thing that ever happened to the franchise. Now, that goes 30 years now, Lubie. 30
Yes.
years.
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, it's a sport that until now, more than half the teams made the playoffs. Yeah, now I guess there's 32 teams, so it's exactly half. But
Yeah.
until the last like 3 or 4 years, more than half, you had a better chance of making the playoffs than not.
And missing it, yes.
Like, that's astounding to not find a way to make a run. And this organization had not made a run in 30 years.
30 years, yeah. And when they did make a run, I mean, it was as improbable as any that we've seen in sport. And, as great as it was, as wonderful as it was, it still ended up in a sweep. And we're clinging to the one thing. I mean, you talk about Tom Olivedani mentality. Tom Olivedani, the former defensive coordinator of the Dolphins, who used to pull guys aside and say, hey, listen, Defo, I know you were critical of the defense in that last game that we lost 43-6, but if you had taken those 200-yard runs that they made out of the equation there, they only averaged 2.5 yards a carry. But yeah, because they were taking a knee from the third quarter on. What are you talking about, Tommy boy? You guys got crushed. But if you choose to eliminate certain key stats, you can make anything look good, right? I mean, it's a Donald Trump philosophy or approach. Where never mind the dead people. This was a testament to how solid we are in America, right? That we had people clinging to the walls there like Spider-Man, the Capitol building, because my fat ass decided to protest the fact that I lost an election and solicited all of these people to go out of their way. They're all in jail, half of them, right?
Yes,
And
exactly.
there's Donny Boy saying, well, you know what? That was really wrong what they did to him. I'm going to pardon all of them. It's like, great, Donny. What the hell? Can you believe that? That is a disgrace, too, that we got a rematch coming from the 2020 presidential election. I mean, which nobody wanted the original matchup, and now we're going to get it again. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, we'll see.
This is Heat Knicks, man.
There's a lot of time left.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know. The scariest thing would be if somehow Ron DeSantis got the nomination and won.
He's
that would be it.
Yeah. He's not even going to be in the discussion. That's what I'm saying is it really doesn't start till next year. Everyone's starting it early because Biden's an old fart, but in the next year, we may be able to draw up some candidates. That's my hope, is that some people who are worthwhile on both sides, and we get away from the old man and the loon, because that's what we're doing. The right wants to go with the loon, and the left, as progressive as the party is, we still find a way.
Can you be president from jail? Is that possible?
No, that is not possible.
I guess the conviction would eliminate any chance he had to run for public office, but we'll see. I mean, did he take his number down? It'll be like a steward's inquiry. Anyway, that's too far off in the future here. Well, we have things to deal with immediately. It was kind of a free night last night for a lot of local sports fans here in South Florida, because you didn't have any of your teams in action, which the amazing thing is that we still have teams in action. And it's been one of the brilliant periods of time in the sport landscape, that we've had here in my 42 years of living here in South Florida. Been pretty incredible with, going back. You still have to remember the Final Four had 2 South Florida teams there. And his business now with the Panthers and the Heat, 2 8th seeds knocking off number 1 seeds, and then looking very good in the opening stages of their second round of the postseason. Very unusual. I mean, this coincides with that good period of time, the good vibe we had here in South Florida in the late 90s, when we also mixed in a World Series there in 1997, a World Series championship, and then right back again in 2003. and you thought, wow, I mean, how great is it to be a fan down here? And then came the famine, my friends.
Death door, yeah.
You didn't have the LeBron years, and you had a title in 2006,
Heat.
with the Miami Heat, but the Heat became the only team that seemed like they had even the slightest inclination of what to do from a front office standpoint.
Yeah, the Heat were our manna in our sports desert, whereas everything seemed dreadful. Everything seemed down. Look, the Canes were down, Marlins were down, Panthers were down, Dolphins were
Were
3 quarterbacks a year,
mired in mediocrity. Yes,
the worst coaches possible. Even the coaches that looked decent ended up being stupid, and Saban and Wannstedt, Jimmy Johnson.
Don't forget Adam Gase.
Well, they had a ton of guys that were bad. Yeah, I guess he did go to the playoffs his first year, and then he went on to be a disaster. But then you had the Heat as like the manna that kept us
Coco
alive.
Cameron. Don't leave out Coco.
No, I mean, there was a long list of suck.
Yeah.
But the Heat would either be in the playoffs or contending for a title every year. And it was like, oh, thank God for the Heat.
Yeah. Even when they had a down year, you figure they would bounce back, right?
Yeah,
unfortunately, that one year when they were really down, when they were 11-30 going into the midway point of the season, they came back and went like 30-11, which was incredible. I remember I was kind of riding you that year because you hadn't woken up to the fact that even though the Heat were playing terrible basketball from a result standpoint, they were showing signs of life in that 11-30 period of time towards the end of it. And I remember we were on the air, and I kept saying, "Lubie, you're not watching your favorite team. They're showing signs they're going to snap out of this thing," and they did. And and that unfortunately was an illusion.
Yeah, I was right in it.
Yes.
It was a detriment. They're like, yeah, let's sign everyone. It's like, what?
I don't want to go Brandon Lang, but our good friend Brandon Lang, who joins us frequently, whenever there's some handicapping, that needs to be done on our Believe podcast, especially because he's out in Vegas, so it's tough for him to make this show. But usually, right after we get a groggy Brandon Lang, and he rises right to the occasion. And speaking of rising, I mean, that was such an illusion. It really was like finding out that that gorgeous woman that you had just lured up to your room in Las Vegas turned out was a guy, right? And all of a sudden, you're like, "What's that bulge in your pants?" I've never been in that situation. Have you, Lubie? Have you ever find yourself that's a predicament I haven't experienced?
More discerning, I guess.
One of the few, right? Embarrassing moments that I haven't, had firsthand experience with. By the way, are we the only station and our entity or media platform that is not dispensing our entire staff to watch this Philip get the coronation there? Prince Charles. Prince Philip.
Oh, who gives a shit?
The coronation, yeah. It is incredible. I mean, is it just a media thing? I mean, who would give a shit about this? Of what importance is it that Charles is going to be finally announced and officially made the King of England?
I think it's dumb. I still don't understand why the Brits want it to continue.
I mean, what do these guys do besides waste tons of taxpayer money? My God, I mean, the lavish ceremony alone would be enough to feed all of these starving people around the world.
You would think.
And, for what? I mean, to name, we already know the guy's king. Do we really need this ceremony, Lubie? I mean, this is like some expensive bar mitzvah or something that one of your friends has, and you realize, wow, I didn't know your father was fucking rich.
You're like elephants. Like, what the
you were just a friend of mine. That's all, right?
You're like, why is there tents? Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
You asked me for
How did you get vanilla fudge to play your bar mitzvah?
I pay for you.
Zeppelin. Yeah, exactly.
Like, what the hell are you hiding?
but who needs this ceremony? I mean, it's the same thing. I've been reading endless amounts of material. You almost, if you're on any social media that drops in ads and or any kind of allusion to things that are going on TV or movies or whatever, do I really care that Kelly Ripa and her husband are laying an egg as or not being favored as the new hosts of the Kelly Ripa show or whatever, Live with Kelly and I guess the guy's name is Mark Consuelo.
Wait, you want to have Mark be like? Oh, Seacrest is done.
Seacrest, left the show. I mean, Seacrest is ready to pass on. I never seen a guy busier than Ryan Seacrest.
No, he still does his morning radio show for LA. That's, I guess, national, and then he does American Idol. Like, I never understood how he does. Like, why?
And he was doing his daily show in New York, which is taxing enough to command a $20 million a year salary for Kelly Ripa.
That's crazy. Okay, so he's
Does Kelly Ripa ever say anything that you would remember? No, never, nothing. I mean, is she like an attractive woman? Yeah, I mean, she's cute. Not my cup of tea in terms of personality on TV, but still does a good job at that sort of thing. That schmooze kind of show. I guess it's been very successful, and she's been there for a long, long time. But who cares if there's any chemistry between her and her husband? I don't give a shit. Do you? How is that impact? If you're watching TV at 10 o'clock in the morning, there might be something wrong with you anyway, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, he's an
If
actor.
this is your go-to show, you're like, whoa, I can't wait till Kelly and whoever comes on.
Regis was funny. I liked Kathy Lee was weird, and Regis was funny. That's after that. I mean, Kelly Ripa and Ryan Seacrest don't have personalities. They're literally just.
Seacrest was very good at this sort of thing. I would disagree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't watch.
I mean, it's not my style of stuff, obviously, but I couldn't do it, and I think he did what he does, which has obviously some kind of mass appeal. He does it very well. He really does.
I'm sure he's great at smiling a lot and asking generic, stupid questions. Like, there's nothing wrong with it.
Schmoozing over, and obsessing over, actresses that you never heard of, that kind of thing.
It's like there's a ton of people that do that. Like Michael Strahan came off a football field and was able to do that. Like, I'm not saying it's the easiest thing ever, but it's not rocket science either. Like, it seems like, look, again, Mike Greenberg is making a career. They throw him on everything now because we don't have money to pay anyone else, and we're already paying this guy a ridiculous amount of money. Go, Greenberg, go. Because it doesn't take a lot of thought to just smile and throw it to.
I'm surprised he's not down on the ice analyzing hockey. Hey, take a puck right to the chest there. I can't believe it. You know how painful that can be. Mike, I don't know if you even can skate,
Yeah, exactly.
Does that bother people when a guy that's, a big-time sportscaster looks like he couldn't possibly be any good in any sport? Not that you had to be a professional. I don't agree with that. I mean, people that say, well, if you didn't play the game, you would know nothing about it. I believe if you played these sports on any level and you had an understanding of it, you may not understand what it is in terms of that level of intense competition, to have to do all of the things that you have to do to stay active as a professional athlete. Because, that's another remarkable thing about LeBron James is that, to stay at this level for as long as he has been incredible. We know everybody always talked about Kobe Bryant's work ethic. But even Kobe, towards the end of his career, the very end, started to show signs of wear and tear, no?
He's getting hurt every year.
Yeah. LeBron, has incurred some injuries, but wow, when he was on the court there, you wouldn't know that this wasn't his first year in the league, would you?
And Kobe had definitely taken a dip. Like, the last game he scored 60-something. First of all, he put up like 50 shots. So they were making sure he got 60-something.
That was a Udonis Haslem tribute game.
Yes. And on top of that, before that game, it was like 2 or 3 years where you forgot Kobe was in the league. Like, he wasn't the same dude.
Yeah, he had tailed off significantly. You see this with athletes. You don't see this with LeBron James, though. I mean, when he's on the court, if you can disregard, the fact that, okay, he never used to get hurt. Now, he's missing 20 games a year. But outside of that, when you watched him the other night, didn't he look like he had just come into the league, only come into the league with like a world of experience? Because I remember him coming in, reinserted into the game in the third quarter, and I thought, wow, I mean, he senses they're going to win this game. And he's going to impose his will on this thing, much like we're seeing with Jimmy Butler imposing his will on the Milwaukee Bucks, and then in Game 1 anyway against the New York Knicks. So it was good though, Lubie, to get a little bit of a breather. I thought from the local teams being involved in the playoffs. I don't know that I want to wait till Saturday for the next game in the next Heat series, but we're almost there. Saturday, of course, I'm waiting for another event, which will be the Kentucky Derby, which is my only shot in 2023 at redemption. In fact, if we hit this thing, is Saturday the coronation day for
I don't know,
the now King Charles? Because if we hit the Derby, we're going, Lubie.
I don't want
to. Our Monday broadcast will be from London.
If we hit the Derby and you want to go somewhere, I'll go. But I don't want to. I don't give a shit about that thing. I think it's the dumbest waste of fucking money. Like the fact that they have a prime minister, they have a parliament, and have for decades.
What does this guy do except make you wonder about his taste when he dumped Lady Di for Camilla Parker or whatever, Parker Bowles?
Yeah, when he went because she was too hot.
Hot chick that everybody in the world loves, and he dumps her for this old bag. I mean, is that true love? What do you think?
She was an egomaniacal asshole. Like all the shows and movies pretty clear in the fact that he actually was falling for Diana until he realized, oh shit, they like her more than me. Fuck her. It's like, who gives a shit? Believe me, people like Shirley a lot more than they like me. And I'm like, yeah, you should.
It's basically true, yeah.
I wouldn't get rid of her.
You're a very likable guy in your own way, Lubie. Even in your most bitter moments, you're still somebody you just want to give a hug to. You really do.
That's sweet, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm Shirley. Like, she's great looking, she's bright, and she fakes happiness where, like, she's not going to do the bitter thing in public. I can't hide it. You know, if I'm bitter. Shirley never does that. Shirley's a freaking champion of always putting the best foot forward in public. You should like Shirley more than me. I like Shirley more than me. Duh. So why would I get rid of her? Like, that's what this fucking guy did. He literally,
Charles,
he died, was getting beloved, and instead of going, oh my God, thank God, they like him.
Nobody gave a shit about him. They thought he was a creep.
He was a weirdo. But he should embrace it. Good. I did something right. They love her. Instead, he was jealous, and he found the. Okay, I don't want to be.
Yeah, think about this. I mean, how long was it? That lady passed away. Isn't that like? Is that 25 years ago already? I mean, is it that long?
I was like in 8th grade. It's like 30 years.
30 years. Wow. So, and this guy's still around, and they're going to waste all of this time and energy, and everybody's going to be all over it. And where's Meghan Markle? And she just signed some deal that's going to make her among the most powerful producers in Hollywood. Meghan Markle, believe it or not. She was carrying a suitcase that might have had money in it. It might not have. As Howie Mandel was going, what case do you want? And the guys there, the audience is screaming, 15, 15. And you're thinking, wow, man, where did they find 25 hot fucking chicks like this? That are willing to stand there and just show all of these, legs that they, have developed over the years, to a great delight of the audience out there. That was the only reason to watch the show, wasn't it? Was the chicks and the possibility that the guy might have hit for $1 million. Wasn't that what they were giving away?
Yeah, I never watched that show. I didn't get that at all. The strategy in that show.
I mean, whoever came up with that one, man, just said, hey, listen, we got to have a concept by tomorrow. It's kind of like the contest we do at the track on the Mike Mayo Lunchbox show, where you're thinking, that's a bad idea. And then the people love it.
They love it.
They love it.
Like, okay, we were wrong.
Pick the horse in the feature race the next day off a food page? You got to be kidding me, man. And it turns out everybody's a handicapper.
Honestly.
Half of the people that love good food also could be Andy Byer.
Stone Cold Degenerates, exactly.
Yeah, that's great. I was going to run this by Mayo, but I don't know that he, wanted to get into this at all. But I was thinking about the best food scenes in movies. I put this up on Facebook, got a big response. Best food scenes in movie. I gave my top 5, although, I mean, you could make a case for a lot of others.
Oh, you do got Goodfellas. Obviously, you got to be Goodfellas.
I forgot to put that one in there because I threw in a bogus one because I don't know that you can qualify Linda Blair spitting up pea soup in The Exorcist. I'm not sure that's exactly a food scene.
That's disgusting.
Because it was like green slime. I don't know. Do we know for sure that it was pea soup? I always said it was, but it could have been anything, right?
Probably was pea soup, but it's still not appetizing. Isn't a food scene supposed to be appetizing?
Oh, no. I'm just talking about food scenes. One of my favorites, and a lot of people, was when this movie's too old for your, memory, and you weren't around at the time it was out. But Paul Newman in Cool Hand Luke eats 50 eggs in a scene. 50. He bets he's in jail, and he bets one of the other inmates that he can eat 50 eggs at a time. And he does it, man, and it's like it's phenomenal.
So do you do Rocky, the scenes where he's drinking?
Rocky, yeah. I mean, when he cracks the raw eggs into that plastic cup that he stole from like Flanagan's. That's the only place you get a cup like that, right? I mean, who buys those? You don't go to the dollar store and get a bunch of cups that are like 32 ounces, do you?
No.
That's mostly ice they put in there. Ask them for a Sprite, no ice, and get a side of ice. Do people do that?
I've used to. I wouldn't get the side of ice. If I knew I was going home, I would get a drink without ice, so I could stretch it out.
But right, because you're getting robbed, right?
Yes. Oh no, it's all ice. Get rid of the
giant cup. I mean,
it's like this
janitor in a drum-sized cup of soda, and it's all ice. So, I mean, would you go to the extent and the extreme to ask for it without ice and then ask for a side of ice? And what kind of look would you get from the server? We don't do that here.
I may be frugal.
Manager!
Exactly.
Now you're complaining.
That's something that you would see on Let's Eat.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yeah.
And they'd be proud of themselves for asking for it, and the staff being looking at them weird.
Because everybody, every day, and I think you should put some thought to this every day. I've said this forever. It's probably my most essential philosophy. Okay. You should not let a day go by where at some point during that 24-hour period of time, you don't at least think about a way to beat the system.
True.
No?
True.
Somehow, right? We're going to beat the system, Lubie. I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. But we've beaten it pretty much for all of these years.
So. We're still here. They want it gone. Long time.
All right, just a quick perusal here. I'm going to try and get a hold of the Paulie man for his handicap. Okay. He's ready to go. Yeah, good.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to come back and we're going to handicap the Derby with the Paulie man, Paul Messell, who is probably the best of the best that I've ever seen at this particular endeavor. Now, he happens to be, and there's a possibility, I guess, of rain, which really creates havoc in Derby handicapping. And there's no better slop handicapper than the Paulie man. In fact, when we come back with the Paulie man on the geezers at Caesars, if this green light thing ever gets off the ground, I'm going to put like a mud pack on Paulie man's face so that, and he's going to be known as the king of the slop. Never mind King Charles. He's going to be the king of the slop because nobody better. So we'll get that insight coming up in just a moment here on the Defo Show. The Paulie man returns to the program. I'm so proud and happy that we're going to be able to deliver this guy to the audience here after what? Over a year's hiatus, it seems like.
No, we had him on the phone a few months ago. I try to have him on every once in a while just to keep him involved because I know people miss him and I know we miss him. So I try to keep him around.
Legendary. He doesn't realize the extent of his legend here in South Florida among broadcasters. Yeah. I think there's Rick Shaw. No, it'd be Neil Rogers, the Paulie man, and then Rick Shaw. No? Hank? On the sports side, maybe Hank had a pretty big reputation. All right, we're coming back with the Paulie man and a Kentucky Derby preview here in just a moment. Now that. The time. And by the way, tomorrow, Degenerate Friday, Kate and Brady are going to join us, right? We're good with that, and we'll have
no professor this week, so we have in his stead.
Okay. All right, Kate and Brady, on the Derby. So we'll get two different perspectives here. It's 7:32.
Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. Make the right choice for your home. Call Choice Mortgage today.
Hear me. I am your new president. From this day on, the official language of San Marcos will be Swedish. Silence. In addition to that, all citizens will be required to change their underwear every half hour. Underwear will be worn on the outside so we can check. Furthermore, all children under 16 years old are now 16 years old.
What's the Spanish word for straitjacket?
Power has driven him mad.
Welcome back to the Defo Show.
Oh, Solo Volante will be coming late. Oh, Solo Volante. The Belmont's now 1.8 miles. The finish line is coming up quick. Luca Panici just switched the stick.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Jeff DeForest, Michael Lubitz with you here on South Florida Live. And this is great because I remember the run that this gentleman was on when he was picking Derby winner after Derby winner. I don't know that there was any kind of a slump period that followed that, but you should have made enough money during that period of time. Where I believe, as we welcome into the show, one of our all-time favorites, I don't know, it really is. It's the most frequently asked question here about anyone in the South Florida media. And that is, hey, whatever happened to the Paulie man?
Yes, I hear it
Right?
all
Is
the
the
time.
Paulie man still with you? What about this Paulie man? Everything is about the Paulie man. And we welcome to the show our esteemed colleague for many, many years.
Yes.
And hoping to make a return. I do believe that the geezers at Caesars will happen someday, although I'm counting on people that I've counted on in the past, and we might be inclined to think that you can't count on them again. But we welcome to the show the Paulie man, Paul Messell. Paulie man, how are you, my friend?
Hey, how you doing, guys? Good to hear from you.
Good morning, great one.
Hey, good to talk to you also, as we want to get your insight into the Derby, and you have, as usual, sort of a contrarian opinion to what everybody else is thinking. I did see, I will say this, I did see Forte. I guess all of these animals look pretty studly for the most part. I mean, you rarely see a horse and you go, wow, what a rat. Is going to go, who was that horse? It was years ago, and he was like, he had to be 100-1. And he was a horse that was like running at Beulah Park the race before, which I guess is no longer.
Yeah.
Because we had a jockey come out of Beulah and win the race. But who was Mr. Frisky or something? Who was that? That there was a horse that some guy, the owner, was just hell-bent on entering. They didn't have the point system then. He got him into the race, and it was a disaster. But you're capable of spotting these horses.
I remember that.
Yeah, I remember everybody was thinking, how horrible it was. Anyway, what's your thought? I mean, as you look at the 20 horses in this year's field, is there anything that stands out? Because I was going to say, I saw Forte schooling in a paddock the other day on what is now FanDuel TV, formerly TVG. And they showed a shot of him walking into the paddock, and I'm thinking, my God, I mean, this horse looks like a monster, even just strolling, out there on a Wednesday afternoon, to get a look at what it's going to be like to be saddled up on Saturday. Are you a believer in Forte, just to start things out?
Well, he certainly hasn't done nothing wrong. He's really done whatever they asked him to do. He always gets the job done. He's really been pretty outstanding. I know all the number guys, which I am not, I'm like, I think the original trip handicapper, as you know, since I'm a young boy. But the number guys should just point out that at the odds he'll probably be, his numbers don't stand out over the rest of the field all that much, or, basically the same. Sure, deserving favorite, and, of course, with no surprise, but it's a really wide open race. You seem like you say this every year, but this is really, really, I don't know, a great betting race, wouldn't you say?
It always is. I mean, I believe this, and I think you would also subscribe to this theory that, and especially with our degenerate crowd, that of all the opportunities to make wagers that you could possibly have, and, this includes even getting just a clear well-defined signs from the gods of gambling where okay, I'm going to bet UConn to go all the way this year or whatever. And I'm going to parlay every game until the championship game. And even then, I'm not going to hedge. I'm going to press my bet. And somehow, you have this certainty about what's going on. But with all of the opportunities that you have, the Kentucky Derby provides far and away, I mean, the most out of proportion, exorbitant odds compared to, what it takes to actually cash a ticket that you will ever find. I mean, it's your chance to make the biggest lopsided score for the player that you can find anywhere on any board, anywhere in the world.
No, that's for sure. You can, the old just pick a number out of the hat thing, and you can't go wrong. One seems to be as good as the other. I had told you that I liked verifying a little.
Yes.
And it was so funny that I sent you last week just for fun. As I said, a fun Derby factoid where they always call the Ray one hole the kiss of death, which Ferdinand won in 1986, the last winner there. And I told you that the one might be, but the two sure ain't no bargain. The last winner out of the two hole was affirmed in 1978. That's 45 years ago. And unfortunately, verifying drew the two hole down there and had speed in a race that looks to be short of speed. Every story you read, well, there's not a lot of speed in the race. There's not a lot of speed in the race. So they're going to have to send this horse out of here. It's funny that 8 of the last 10 Derby winners have been on or somewhere close to the lead. The exception being 10 years ago, Orb. And last year, of course, Rich Strike came from out of the moon, but with a depth trip and a real tricky trip coming through the inside. And so Tyler Gaffleone in the irons, they got to send them away from the two hole. Speaking about the death trap, the one hole was the stablemate Hit Show. Well, I know a couple of Sharpies that just love this horse.
Wow.
And so he's the one out of the one hole. So, verifying, to be honest with you, he had his maiden win last year. Then he was second went right to the Champagne, was second, had big trouble at the start in the Breeder Cup Juvenile. Then he returned this year with a win, was a troubled fourth as the whole field was troubled that day in the Rebel, which was in a slop, and was just nipped by Tapper Trice in the Bluegrass. So I don't want to get too cute, like I said this horse a few weeks ago that I liked him, and then he's in the two hole. I can't use him. So you should never get too cute, the old Freddie the Triple Man theory. So I like verifying even out of that post. I like another one of the Brad Cox 4 horses, Angel of Empire. And it's so funny. He draws the 14 hole, which is just now random. But the 14 hole has not won since 1961.
Wow. Carry back, right?
Yeah, and of course, the 17 with the Japanese horse, Dermisota Gate, which translates, I think, to knock 3 times. And I maybe got that wrong. I maybe got that confused. But he's the one.
I think I just took 2 capsules of that this morning to try and ward off the gout. Dermisota Gate.
The 17 hole, which, of course, has never won. But Angel of Empire really, really took off, I guess, was that in the Arkansas Derby, and just erupted the field in its wake. So I like Angel of Empire. And then completely going against the grain, Mage, M-A-G-E, which is one of those, can't win if you never raced as a 2-year-old. He has 3 starts, and I don't know if you like Forte, don't you got to like him a little? He also had huge trouble in the Florida Derby, didn't break, made a wild looping run past the field to look like he might be the winner, and then was run down by Forte. So I'm going to go with 2-14-8, verifying Angel of Empire and Mage. In what
Very nice.
Is a complete crapshoot.
Would you also include Tapper Trice and Forte in your exotics? I'm thinking about taking a 5-horse box, which is what we had success with a couple of years ago in the maximum security DQ race.
Yep.
Yeah, and that play has worked for me because if you're using a couple of the favorites in there, thinking one of them in all likelihood is going to hit the board somewhere, be first, second, or third, you'd still have the possibility that your 3 bombs could come in without them. and make for a huge payoff. Or that if you're if you see Forte runs second or something, you're not out of the trifecta, and you're not thinking, oh geez, how can I leave this horse out? Would you include Tapit Trice and Forte in exotic wagers if you were going to say use 4 or 5 horses?
2 choices. Let's face it. No question about it. You can't pull Tapit Trice. He charges every time he runs. Again, the whole thing, the intern this year has to work out a trip. Like I've heard 17 analysts say on different horses as well, has to work out a trip. Like you said earlier, 20 horse field, everybody needs to.
It's like puck management has become our new favorite term in hockey, whatever that means. PK Subban, every comment he makes is, well, you know what? They really got to get better with puck management. I'm like, what does that mean? I mean, we're carving this puck up into 8 slices like it was that Swiss night cheese. I mean, what are we talking about here? Managing the puck.
He's in a little hot water for his comments about overweight people, I believe. He's
Subban? Yeah, I didn't realize that. Everybody's in a jackpot.
I'm not that familiar with the music industry now, but I guess a super popular rapper, Lizzo, is her name?
Yep.
I guess he said something the other day, some better go on a Lizzo diet, meaning to pack on some calories or something. So he's getting he's getting hounded by every group, fat people's group of America, the overweight people. It is they're calling for his head. So but yeah. So the races, like you said, not many opportunities come along each damn year in anything where you can get.
Well, I mean, if you hit this with your 3 horses, I mean, that's going to be an enormous payoff. If Forte and Tapit Trice and
believe it or not, it's third, right? It's third choice at 8-1.
Yes, I mean, even by the morning line odds, you're getting some fat prices. Although I keep seeing what I think is a misprint in the New York Post, as I've seen this now 3 or 4 days in a row. I guess they haven't alerted anybody to it. Verifying is not 35-1 morning line, is he? He would have to be more like 15-1.
Yeah, 15. Yeah, that's a big difference. How are they? I don't know how they're that off.
Whoever's editing the New York Post has let this slip now for a couple of days. But all right, some other things too. One of our, also very prominent and effective 3-year-old handicappers, the great Jersey Kyle Martinez. He likes Skinner in this race. Do you have any thoughts on Skinner?
It's my anti-West Coast bias. That's no, for sure. Another one highly thought of. Certainly as good as all the rest. And again, I know another real good handicapper. 4 top guys I know. 2 like Hit Show, 1 like Skinner, and I can't even think of who the other one likes. But it's another sort of cutie. Skinner, good as all the rest, good selection. And Kyle is dangerous, that, let's face it.
Oh, yeah, he came up with Country House that year.
Good prices and good picks. So, for sure.
All right, so you're not going to let the, negativity about the 2 post dissuade you from at least using Verifying. And are you going to, say that this horse Verifying would then also qualify as the Paulie Man's circle it in your program the day before winner of the Kentucky Derby?
Well, I'm going to stick with him as the pick,
Okay.
I guess it's, 45 years is long enough. Why not? And, let's face it, he is definitely is a front runner. So they were going to go get position anyway. Now they got to send a little more than they'd like to, I think, but, who knows? As good as all the rest, I sort of like that last race when Tapit Trice came to him. He really battled hard. And Brad Cox, I guess joined a few years back, joined the Super Elite, the Todd Clutches and the likes like that. Again, usually I don't play. I'm usually playing against trainers like that because they have the favorites usually in the race. But he sure can train a horse, man. No question about it. Wow.
All right, what do you make about this story now? Unfortunately, and we hate this as horse racing fans because I don't believe, even though we've seen pieces about cruelty to animals, and they had that HBO Real Sports piece I think it was Bernard Goldberg was at like Wheeling Downs or something, and
Right.
and they had some crooked trainer who was drugging horses and mistreating these animals. But I think that's more the exception, than it is the rule. I believe that there's a great love. I mean, we've seen it. You've been on the backstretch for the horses, and a great symmetry with the people and the horses on the backstretch. But the four horses that I guess what, two were injured and had to be euthanized, and two just checked out, had like heart attacks or something after a race, all at Churchill Downs within like the last week. One after working out, what was going to be in the Derby actually, and it was going to be one of those stories that was featured on NBC's telecast, a real underdog story, as that there's always a possibility that one of these horses pulls the upset. But what do you make of this story? I mean, what kind of concerns should there be, if any? Or is it just a fluke?
Sure is troubling, sure is troubling, number one. And horses, breaking down and being euthanized on the track during works. But I don't understand the other two were owned by Ramsey, I believe, and trained by,
Ben Ramsey, yeah.
They talk about leading trainers were collapsed and died after working on the track. Like you said, it's more than $1 trillion to 1. He says he's trained 4,000 horses, never happened, and not once, twice, like in a row. So, boy, that is very, very strange. I don't know how one, understand the horses breaking down. That could be an underlying factor with the track. We've seen that before at certain times. But I don't know what's with this, like you said, collapsing and dying. Boy, strange.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing you want, I guess, is to see this anytime, but especially at a time where you have the marquee event of the sport taking place, and that would be the Kentucky Derby, which is always a thrill. I mean, the pageantry and the whole thing, the spectacle,
right.
Is absolutely compelling. If have you've been to derbies? Have you not, Paulie, man?
No.
Oh, never. Wow.
Never been to the Derby. No.
Oh, how do we not
me. I like to stay away from crap.
Yeah, you're not exactly one to go out there and wear like a replica of Churchill Downs on your head, as you'll see people doing when they're at the Derby, which I think would be kind of inhibiting, in terms of having a good time, to have this giant replica of a building on your head. But you will see all kinds of craziness going on there.
But the Derby this year is the 12th race on the card. Post time 6:57. So if me, you, and Lubie were there, I'd probably be telling you about after the 8th race. I think we better get out of here. It's going to be terrible. Let's leave now.
It is a circus, but I will say this: they get you in and out of there in pretty good fashion. In spite of like the people themselves may be, they're overwhelmingly intoxicated, especially if you get the crowd rushing out from the infield. Which, the inebriation is not even a strong enough word to describe where these people are at before they even get to the first race. What will Johnny Weir be wearing on the coverage? What do you think? Would it be Lagerfeld in honor of the Met Gala? Is there any action on that? I mean, does Vegas or any offshore book take action on how strangely dressed will Johnny Weir be?
Still, I tell you, the highlight of any Derby, I believe, when you were there with the great Leslie Visser and crew, when, of course, in the morning, rushing to get coffee, knocked over some, what you call the old stumble bum on crutches.
Yeah.
He ended up being the trainer of
the winning horse, yeah.
You're telling, right? You went back and told Leslie, I'm sorry, coming back so late with the coffee. Some hobbled old cowboy got my way. I knocked him over.
All the signs, Paulie, man. I was talking about this yesterday. I mean, if ever they were just clear-cut signs from the gods of gambling that you should bet this horse, I received like 10 of them. I mean, it was like a series of punches from Manny Pacquiao right in the face. And I still didn't have a dime on this Mind That Bird that year. That was unbelievable. Wow. You couldn't whiff on the signs any more than I did. And that's unfortunately, I don't know if it's a Jewish thing, but it's been the story of my life. It really has. Any thought real quickly before we let you go? And it's a pleasure getting to talk to you again here, Paulie, man. It's been a while, but any thoughts on the local teams in the postseason. You have Knicks Heat and also the Florida Panthers going against the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Boy, they're really, really rolling. You know me, well, especially like, I think more with the Yankees, though, like, what do you think? What do you think? Not this year, but, if they're in the playoffs, they're down a game in the World Series, or up a game. And, I always get the negative in my head because I don't want the big disappointment. But I tell you what, the Heat and the Panthers, they're really rolling. Holy mackerel. The Panthers, you hate to say it, got that look at that kind of, uh-oh.
Yeah, they're hungry all of a sudden.
And jump up and boy, that was so exciting, huh?
That game 6 was as exciting a game as I've seen here in town ever.
Right.
It was right up there with when we had Seattle getting like 14 points against the Dolphins that day when we were in the QAM box.
Oh, no, the 60s.
And everybody's wearing like merino jerseys, and they went up like quickly, like 21-0. So we were going to easily win this game in a blowout. And but we had to suppress our exuberance because of the fact that we were in there with management, and they were all Dolphin fans.
Dolphins.
Well, you didn't exactly suppress it that much. That first stop and go early in the game, I think the first play from scrimmage for Seattle, bomb touchdown to, I believe, our good friend Joey Galloway, I believe, and you turned around and you said, "More chicken wings, Paulie." A whole tray of chicken wings. So you didn't.
We stopped just short of screaming the entire game, "Money line!"
And remember how funny it was when we came up there, the person, your friend, I think you were a friend with his wife originally, or worked with his wife, the gentleman that ran the box, to you in front of me. You on the radio this morning, and some moron with you picked Seattle to win the game outright. And that moron is right here. That's the
they were in stunned disbelief, as were the Maple Leaf fans that were leaving whatever the name of the arena is up there in Toronto, as they had to put their snowshoes back on and head home, as the Panthers were going to be in a position to, go up 2-0 tonight. All right. Always a pleasure, Paulie, man.
We love you.
It was great talking to you guys.
Been fantastic. Verifying you're sticking with the pick in spite of the ice cold 2-hole in the Kentucky Derby. And
why not, right? Why not?
You hit it on the head. I say this all the time. I've said it for years. Don't get cute. Right? I mean, you have an opportunity to do something, and all you have to do is make the simple play or the simple decision. Don't get cute. Just go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Right? And every now and then, maybe get cute, but no. I mean, it usually ends up results in catastrophe. Whenever you try to get cute with something, you're up 6 points, and you decide you're going to put in all your scrubs or whatever, and you get cute, and next thing you know, you're losing a ball game. All right, thanks, Paulie, man. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you so much. Enjoyed it. Thanks.
All right, Paulie, man, ladies and gentlemen. All right, he's staying with it in spite of the ice-cold history of the 2-hole in the Derby, verifying who was 15-1. Not that robust 35-1 was very appealing to me, Lubie.
Yeah, it wasn't real. You weren't getting that anyway.
You know what? Here's the thing about being a screen-to-screen bettor and a maniacal sick degenerate when it comes to the track, and you can't skip a race, is that often you don't even know who the horses are that you're rooting for. You cannot identify them by name. You just know that, in the case of this business with Tapit Trice, who's a gray that won the Tampa Bay Derby and then came back, and I guess, what was that, the Bluegrass that he won? Anyway, and Paulie Man was referencing that race. I didn't realize that verifying was in that mix. It was like a 3-horse, drive to the wire, and Tapit Trice kind of prevailed in a long, tough battle. So he's showing, this kind of tenacity. A horse that likes to win. Came from the clouds in the Tampa Bay Derby after, I guess, he had an horrendous start. And literally, Lubie was not on the screen as they were at the 16th pole. All right, the pan shot, which covers like 10 horses. There was no sign of this horse. Whoosh, blew by them all. So, hard to imagine, because people always think that closers are going to be favorites in the Kentucky Derby because of the distance, 1.25 miles. So you're thinking the speed is going to fall apart, and yet that happens to be, well, as Paulie pointed out, 8 of the last 10 Derby winners were either on or near the lead, stalking the pace or on the lead. So That's a fallacy. And in fact, when they used to run more 1.5 mile races, Lubie, where you would think, okay, this is a serious advantage for the horses to come from behind. No, I mean, it's hard to sustain that speed over a long period of time. And if you just come in kind of jogging in the back there and you want to put in a big closing kick, this would be the way to do it. 1.5 mile race. But front runners win the Belmont a good percentage of the time. So that's the way it goes. By the way, I mean, another hellacious day in the history of sports today for any sick degenerate. You know what today is, Lubie?
What's today?
Opening day at Belmont Park. So if your picks have been going up the track and up in Smoke and Aqueduct, you now have, the Big Sandy, which I was usually okay handicapping at Belmont Park, except when I used to go there frequently. But as a simulcasting entity, it's always been kind of a favorable destination for me. All right. Great stuff with the Paulie Man. Thanks, Paulie Man, for coming on. Jersey Kyle's pick of Skinner, he, would not denounce.
Yeah.
See, somewhere along the line, you have to eliminate somebody, right?
That's
So
the
who's it going to be?
when we start these years where we used to have like 4 or 5 handicappers, and I would track to see who was worth putting money on. We'd get down to 8 or 9 horses. Like, you can't fucking bet on 8 or 9 horses.
No, it's tough. Yeah.
But Paulie Man mentioned 3 and then the 2 favorites. So it's like, all right, I can keep an eye on those, and we'll see. And I'll cross that with Caden tomorrow, and from you and Mayo, and the 4 of you. For me, I'll listen to the 4 of you, and I'll find the common denominators between the 4 of you. And that's what
we should have the Greek give his pick too, because what the Greek will do is take out a dart.
Yes,
after he eliminates the top 10 horses in odds, and then throw it at the bottom 10 horses in odds, and see 5 of those horses he'll play for $100 a pop. That's probably the way to go. I mean, if you can pick a winner in this race, I think you're going to make some money if it isn't Forte, and that looms as a very real possibility. But there's so many approaches. There's so many ways to fuck this up, Louie. That's the beauty of it. There's so many ways. You could be absolutely spot on in terms of your thinking and still lose. That's what I love about it. It's very much like life, is it not? Handicapping thoroughbred racing. So I was thinking about doing this. I mean, this is a little technical in terms of betting, but it naturally exposes me as the kind of spread it out thin and hope to hit hedge man that I might be. Okay. So it would cost you $60, Lubie, $60 wager to box, and that is have every combination of 5 horses in trifectas. All right. Are you following that? $60. So you have it for $1. So I'm inclined to do that. But do I throw those 2 favorites in, one of them in, or throw them both out of this 5-horse box?
I don't know. I was going to ask.
If you hit it without these 2 horses, Tapit Trice and Forte, it's going to be an enormous payoff. We're talking about at least 5 figures for the trial.
The problem is, do you see them both going from favorite to not placing at all? Both of them. Like,
I don't know.
But I'm curious.
Could be. I don't know. I would be inclined to lean more towards Forte, but being there, I mean, not winning the race, but being there and possibly winning the race, can't rule that possibility out, right? What the Paulie Man's saying and what makes it so wonderful, look, it's a puzzle. If you can hit it, it's basically like a 20-number lottery in some senses, where you do have some foundation. I mean, it's not like just arbitrary luck that, oh, look at that, they pulled my number out, 13. You can have some kind of an opinion on this, and if you're right, it'll be very profitable. But for $60, you can do that. So I have to decide whether to include those 2 horses, Tapit Trice and Forte, or leave them out, or and then make a subsequent. For 50 cents, you can make a 6-horse box. So now you have those 2 plus 4 others. And what happens? You're thinking, how can I leave that Japanese horse out? I knew he was going to be there.
See, that you're stressing me out, because we're going to actually be joining the mailman, and I think the lovely Nikki Mohan and her partner at Gulfstream Saturday. So,
oh yeah, wow.
My wife, I can control myself, so I would probably.
Charlie's going to give you enough money to bet.
She's not going to give me anything. If we're down there, we're not going to not throw in on the Derby. So I'm trying to figure out, between all the crap that's thrown at me, what do we do? Like,
if I'm you, wow. I mean, I don't know. If you're betting the winner,
I don't. You guys have shown me just to bet the straight winner isn't really the way to go. You want to do exotics, but I don't know what the fuck to do with those. I'm so confused.
Yeah.
When it comes to that stuff.
I mean, you could try some exacta wheels. Cost you $40 to wheel Forte top and bottom. But if you wanted to go for the price, and you took the Polyman's advice there and took verifying first and second, and then some schmink comes in at like 80-1, like happened last year. Now you're looking at exorbitant payoffs for what it normally would produce in terms of a price. That exacta paid $4,000 last year. I mean, think about that for $2.
Jesus,
$4,000 back wheeling the favorite. Which, of course, the one time I don't do it,
yeah, exactly.
I'm sitting there looking like a stooge, going, "What number was that?" Because you couldn't make out the saddlecloth, and who's ever seen like the 20 come home? The 20, unbelievable. What do you have there? I got a 23 exacta. What do you mean? You got a $23 exacta? No, 20 over to 3. Came from nowhere with a lot of mud in his face. All right, so some good ideas there. We'll have Kate and Brader tomorrow, and I'm going to be at a Derby party, so I'm going to have to pre-bet this thing. That becomes complicated too, because and at the same time, it might be a lifesaver because you haven't already lost your bankroll that you had saved. Where you're saying, okay, I'm going to put like 200 into the Derby. And many times I've gotten in that race and not had the 200 anymore. And I've already made like one bitter walk to the ATM machine, which you swore you would never do it again when you were at the racetrack, right? Bring what money you have to bet, and then if you're tapped out, so be it. But, when you're going back for more cash, and then you're going to burn it without much of a chance of hitting this thing, very, very tough. But no, those would be some interesting ones. But you can make a case for probably 15 out of the 20 here.
I don't know.
Not be considered a lunatic.
The 3 Polyman really liked. He liked verifying. Was scared about the pole position, but he wasn't going to go off of his gut.
Right.
Still of Empire and Mage were the 3, and then of course the 2 favorites. He said you can't forget Tap It Trice or Forte.
Oh, we threw that at him. He liked Angel of Empire also.
Yeah, I said Angel of Empire.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Angel of Empire, Mage, and then he went with Verifying. Those are the 3 for Paulie.
Keep your fingers crossed, Lubie.
I'm gonna do something.
And you have the winner, and you don't fuck it up.
Yeah, that's what my fear is.
See, that's the second factor that makes gambling so impossible. You could have the winner, but how are you going to screw it up? That's the question. All right, we're going to come back with more here. We'll take you up until 9 o'clock today. Thanks to the Paulie Man for joining us, and we'll get into some other stuff here on the program in just a moment. Now that it's 8:07.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Either right-handed or left-handed, get down in there, shirk off the defender.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. All right, thanks to the Paulie Man for joining us here. Confusion. That's what we're all about, creating pandemonium here. It's Gordon Sully time on the program. Pandemonium has broken out. Can you believe this with the Iron Sheik? How could he dare come in there with a foreign object while wrestling the great Dusty Rhodes? We have created pandemonium because once you start expanding your horizons on trying to figure out how to bet the Derby, what would be the safest thing, Lubie? I mean,
I have no idea.
You had like 10 or 20 to win on Animal Kingdom, did you not?
Yes. Well, because everyone had thrown so many friggin' horses and we were there.
Oh, you bet like 3 or 4 horses to win. That wasn't a bad idea.
Shows there. So everyone loved their horses. So I was down to like 8. And then because we were there, and it's the thing I learned from you to never do again, people kept calling me to put in bets for them. So I got so confused that I remembered, I made sure to do the one Paulie man really loved. And then I did to win on like 4 horses. And that's all I did. And I think I put like $20 on Animal Kingdom, and the odds were so ridiculous. I think I won like 200 and something on the Animal Kingdom.
Overall, yeah. He paid $40
because I bet on like 4 other horses. So I think I made.
It's okay though. I mean, look, you spread it out a little bit, which it's a 20-horse field, which is also highly unusual. I mean, usually you're looking at 10 or less, and so you're doubling the luck factor, and there's no problem. Especially here, you would think if you bet 5 horses to win at $20 a pop for 100, you'd probably come away a winner, right? Because almost everything outside of the favorites is going to be 10, 15 to 1.
Yeah.
Not bad. But that doesn't interest me, Lubie. I'm putting my safari hat on this one. Because I believe, I mean, honestly, likely this will happen. It'll run Forte at 8 to 5, and second will be Tapit Trice at 4 to 1. And the rest of the field will be back like 100 lengths.
Yeah.
Which, it doesn't make for a whole lot of sexy stories about your Derby score. But if something strange happens, something out of the occult, and you could possibly, work out an equation where you have the winning ticket on the trifecta, this is going to be an enormous payoff. And that's what I'm hoping for. Even if you get something somewhat ordinary, actually. Like I remember one year, the Jess Man, my son liked the horse Danza, right? So we're trying to figure out various permutations of ways to bet the race. And we ended up splitting Danza and whoever the eventual winner was of that year's race. And a bomb came in the middle. So we had it. And I think like the 50-cent try, which normally would have paid, maybe, 400 or 500, ended up paying 1,600. For 50 cents, yeah.
I remember you won on Danza. Yep.
Yeah, and Danza just showed up like a non-menacing third. Where we're looking, going, okay, we got the first one. Look at that, 28 to 1 in second place, or it was like a 90 to 1 shot ran second, as I recall. And so we got like probably 5 times the payoff that you would making any other horse bet, and you're already getting better odds than you are on sports wagering, unless you're following Lubie and going the other way on some of these hockey games. Right? You're cashing every night. It's fantastic. So a few things too. I mean, that's a sad story. I mean, I hate to see this. I'm a huge horse racing fan my entire life. We often talk about this, like, where did this come from, right? Where did your interest in this come from? I've been following horse racing and boxing since my earliest memories, like 4 or 5 years old. I was always interested in these sports, right? Other kids are playing with the blocks. I'm reading the racing form. Or, trying to figure out, was Jack Dempsey as good as they said? It's crazy. I don't know. What made you have this interest in something? Unless, what? Did you live before? I mean, what do you think, Lubie?
Well, my dad is it's clear why I have my interests. They're definitively in line with my father, my lunatic father.
My dad really, at one time, wouldn't have known a basketball from a bowling pin, even though he was very well versed in most things, and at least had peripheral knowledge of things that he wasn't, deeply interested in. How do you have these interests? I always did. So I always had a great affinity for the game. You hate to see the ugly side of it. It's like being a boxing fan, right? Can you really condone what they're doing? If you were like being, full-fledged humanitarian, can you say, hey, this is a good idea? Why don't we put 2 people, in a small confined area in front of thousands of people that are screaming and bloodthirsty and, hoping to see a guy get knocked unconscious? Right? That's going to be the thing that excites the crowd. I mean, a guy getting seriously, hurt. Or, at least temporarily so. And certainly if you talk to some of the guys that were in the game and you see them years later, you're very happy. Like when I talked to my buddy Albert Davila, who had like 60 professional fights against killers, and but he's fine today, which is good.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, I mean, you can have a conversation with him, and it doesn't go like it did, as I've referenced, many times with our other good friend who was a partner of Albert's, Danny Little Red Lopez, Indian Red Lopez. And, you literally, you say, "Hey, Danny, good to talk to you." And he goes, "Yeah, she's fine."
Oh, jeez.
Like, huh? Danny.
I mean,
But, it's debilitating. There's no doubt about it. And yet it's so exciting, to people at the time. But can you really condone being a fan of on a moral standpoint, it's hard to condone it, right? Clearly you must be putting these animals at risk, no?
well, I mean, look, the boxing thing, when I was growing up, when I was young, I didn't like it. My dad would watch fights all the time. And I'm like, why am I watching two human beings beat the shit out of each other?
Right.
And so it was like egregious to me. And I'm not a fighter. That's just not who I am. When I got older in high school, and you'd sort of get a little bit more, and it wasn't just constant beating. There was some science and some, skill to it. And then I also realized they're choosing to be there. They're making at that point, they were making a lot of money. It wasn't like back in the day when they weren't. They were making a lot of money. When it became a pay-per-view thing, they were making a lot of money. So it was a choice and it was worth it. I accepted it because I'm like, okay, they're grown adults. They're accepting the negatives. They know it's debilitating. And I sort of reconciled it that way. The horses, Mayo is saying it's not the sport. First of all, horses are treated very well. When you pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to have and train a horse, they do live better lives than a lot of humans. They do. That's not a lie. So it's not because of their treatment. Mayo's saying, and I did not realize this. I thought that was debunked, but there's a lot of animals that did get COVID. It didn't hit them as hard as it hit humans, but that later on factor, it sat with them and it hit them in their heart. So it had nothing to do with they were trained poorly or they were treated like ass. I don't know. He's sending me texts with.
It's possible, but Mayo's like an equine Dr. Fauci on this one. I don't know that that's true. I mean, it could be. There are a zillion theories
that are scientifically proven. And
most people would say that the stress of racing sometimes, unfortunately, and we've seen it, has such an impact on a horse's heart. I mean, these are like 1,200-pound animals.
Yeah.
And, to run 40 miles an hour for a couple of minutes at a time after standing in a stall, primarily for a couple of weeks, you could see though where it would take its toll, right? So, look, it's an interesting discussion because you would have the same discussion about the National Football League, no?
Yeah, exactly.
Do we not ignore all of the stuff that goes on in the National Football League because we love the game? And yet, if you were thinking about it, I mean, is it natural to ask people to go out there and collide with each other endlessly at high speed, a high rate of speed, and get bigger and stronger and continue to do this and not expect that there are going to be some negative byproducts of playing this sport and impact, unfortunately, when we've seen it and largely ignored. Hockey, I mean, how do these guys survive? Some of the stuff that goes on the ice. I mean, in the postseason, where you'd think they'd want to have the game sort of look at its, impeccable best. And I mean, there have been some hits that are so outrageous and hellacious in these games. You're thinking, how did that guy ever get up?
Yeah, they keep playing.
Keep playing. The cat with the 75 stitches. He's back out there, man. It's hey, Leatherface. What the hell? What on earth? I mean, so we do condone it in other sports. It's not like it's horse racing only, but these are animals, and as you say, they obviously didn't make a conscious decision to be involved in this thing.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Some guy wants to risk his life. Look, I mean, people do it. You think it was easy? I often reference. I mean, I still have this vision of these guys diving off the Acapulcan cliffs. Greg Louganis, and it's on Wide World of Sports. Auto racing. I mean, what do people watch for? Did they watch for the crashes? Did they really want to celebrate another win by Kevin Truex? Or is it just they want to see three cars go up in smoke and flames?
It used to be the crashes. I don't know if it still is. I feel like we've grown as a society where, like, in football, the hits used to be like, now you see a hit. You're like, you still watch the game and you get that there's danger in it.
You're like, hurry up and cart this guy off the field. What are you talking about? It's gladiator time. If you're a fan.
No, at least for me.
Damar Hamlin, you're like, really? They're going to suspend the game? I'm sure there were people thinking that.
Oh, there were 100% people thinking that, especially if we had money on it.
Really? The guy's already gone. Let's go. Let's play. Never mind. There was literally, I mean, at the time, a dead guy on the field. I mean, thank goodness he recovered. But, I mean, you wouldn't expect, and yet it did seem inevitable, did it not? That at some point in time, and now this wasn't necessarily for the reasons that, you would have considered, although it did come as a result of a guy getting hit at absolutely, right place, wrong time. And, it was Dr. John City on that. And but you did think that at some point, did you not believe, Lubie, that they would have a player actually, end up, with a catastrophic result like that from an injury in the National Football League, where they don't recover from being hit in the head? Yeah, we condone it. How do we get on this thing, man? This soapbox. I don't even know what.
You were talking about boxing and horse racing, and you felt bad about the horses.
I do. I mean, I feel like, that people want to shut the game down, and because I love it so much. I don't know. Is it selfish to think that they should continue? There isn't some kind of abuse in this. I mean, should they condone boxing and NFL football? We would have nothing, right? If it wasn't for, and these football players and hockey players, I guess for the most part, have some idea what they're signing up for.
Yeah, now you do. Maybe they didn't always look. They always knew it was violent. They always knew there was lingering injuries. I don't know if they always knew that it would be stuff that would change.
Does that justify it, or do we have to, try to, as Ron DeSantis is trying to do, save us from ourselves?
Yeah, that's what Ron DeSantis is doing. I feel that I would never. My kids would never be allowed. My wife, my mother, my sister would never allow them to play. But I can watch others. They're making a decision. You're a grown ass adult. You want to play? That's on you. So I have a clear conscience. I don't feel bad with whether it's boxing, hockey, football. I don't feel bad. Horses, I do feel a little bad because they're not making the choice. However,
no. I mean, you feel awful when something like this happens.
We've been around a lot of people that are in the horse industry, and they're all animal lovers. Like they have pets. They love animals. So to me, and the way that we're there every week. I'm in the backstretch. I'm looking at how they treat these horses. These horses are treated well. So to me, it's not that they're poorly treated. Maybe they're made to run, but don't horses run? Isn't that like, I thought horses are an animal that like to run. So to me,
I mean, a lot of the justifications are, that it's a natural instinct. Just like, I mean, they said that about greyhounds,
Yes, and I get
which,
it.
I mean, there was a sport where, you would have to say that, the character of the treatment of the animals certainly was more than, open to question.
That was different. The dogs, there's been enough done about, like when the horses, it's one barn that it's not the industry as a whole. D. Wayne Lucas and Bob Baffert and Pletcher aren't mistreating his fucking their
Well, Baffert, I mean, obviously he's banned from the Derby because of all of these illegal medication violations he's had.
Shooting him up.
So, I mean, even if they seem relatively minor to some people, or, his justification, his lawyers certainly would espouse that. Still, I mean, it was a consistent pattern of, Jose Cansecoism.
Well, and then we don't know what that does to a horse. So look, that does go into the area, the gray area of mistreatment. You can't say it doesn't. You're worrying about winning more than their health, and they're not Canseco. They're not accepting it. They're a horse. So that, yes, I will agree. If that really is something that's widespread, then horse racing may not have a long life. I'm hoping that's
well.
Not.
I mean, but people have been saying, calling for, the El Finito for boxing and, horse racing for forever, it seems like. And yet more money will be bet on the Kentucky Derby than will be spent on the King Charles coronation ceremonies.
What do you mean? So this horse that Julian brought up, Sarney is talking about, part of the owners are half of the media. Like, and you can't tell me Joy Taylor gives a shit about horse racing. Ian Rappaport, Joy Taylor, like if they're owning Lindsay Zarniak, if they're in on a horse, nothing to me strikes that they're horse people. So that tells you, how the popularity still exists of either owning or catching the big race.
Hey, look, I mean, imagine betting on a winning horse is a thrill. Imagine owning the winning horse. I mean, it's, or, and there's any number, me, I like stories. That's, some of the best stories that you could possibly have access to come out of boxing and horse racing. You can walk on the backstretch and, go and say, hey, D. Wayne Lucas, you got a minute? The guy's going to talk to you all day long.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Because they're great self-promoters and promoters of the game, and obviously a lot of these guys are very eloquent speakers and, are very charming and engaging characters. And, they love it. They love the attention and, it's great. I mean, so those sports were among my favorites to cover also because not only did I have a deep-rooted interest in them, but you could really get to know the people. And that's why I feel like, this notion that, that there's no care for the animals, especially at that level, like you were talking about with the Bafferts and whatever. I mean, obviously there's a big investment there and reason to care about the well-being of these horses. I mean, you're not looking for some horse that you paid $1,500,000 for, to have some catastrophic accident, and you're in it just to collect the insurance money. Because I mean, look at what a horse is worth. The real home run is in the breeding shed. So, and boxers, we've talked to many boxers. You had a chance to speak to a lot of guys on Radio Row that were from the boxing world.
They've been pretty solid, except for Iron Barkley. Iron Barkley was the one that it was like.
Iron Barkley, had I don't know that he was all that sharp to begin with, but he certainly had lost whatever edge that he had by being hit in the head so much. There was no question. I mean, he was incoherent when he was on our show.
That made me sad. We talked with Danny Garcia. We've talked with a bunch of boxers, and they were really.
Daniel Jacobs, came back from cancer and got back in the ring, won a world championship. And was in a lot of big fights, made a lot of money for himself, and he seems fine, doesn't he?
Yes.
I mean, that's not to say.
Glenn Johnson, and he was still, I don't know what he is now, but he was still pretty there. Evander Holyfield and Iron Barkley were the two that we had in person that I was like.
Holyfield was scary. I mean, with
that's his part. He kept fighting for 15 fucking years. Like, he could have stopped. He had made a shitload of money, but he had so many kids and he had mishandled his money so poorly that he was fighting into like his 50s. So that's a lot his fault. And Barkley, those two were like,
yeah. Well, I mentioned a time I had Joe Frazier in the studio after his career was over, and I remember thinking, and I just was starting out here in South Florida radio, on some kind of meaningful level. I had a job, I guess, and all of a sudden I was doing like sports talk on 610, which was the big station at the time. It was the only station I was doing any sports. And, so I was thrilled. I was getting Joe Frazier for like an hour in the studio. And we had a pretty good following then, especially of old-time New York, sports fans. And, even the people here, everybody, had some kind of knowledge of and or had seen Smoking Joe Frazier at some point in time. And, naturally, he had accomplished a lot in the game. If he didn't bring his son Marvis, I remember thinking I was dead. Because you would not have understood a word that he said. Now he got a little bit better later on. And I think Holyfield has recovered a little bit. Yeah.
We had Holyfield in Atlanta, and it was like sad. And then I remember we had him on like a couple years later in Miami. I'm trying to remember where we had him. And it was night and day. And I was like, oh, good for him. I'm like, okay, so something's going on. Maybe he's because he
I've seen him more recently. And, not that. Yeah, I mean, a couple of years ago was the last time.
He had finally stopped fighting, and I was like, maybe the cobwebs have cleared out. I don't know what it is, but I'm like,
seem to have a little bit of a recovery. Anyway, that's our position on the dead horses. It's a terrible way of putting it. I mean, that's just sad. DeForest. That's bad. No, I mean, and there were a bunch of other things I wanted to bring up. We got kind of long-winded on that conversation, but it is weird. I mean, we do condone a lot of things and just overlook the ugliness.
Oh, yeah.
And every now and then you're confronted with it, and you're thinking, well, what is my position on that? And naturally, I'm going to be very enthusiastic about the Kentucky Derby, but is there some level of concern that goes beyond what we normally would have for the safety of any competing athlete, including horses, that we're just overlooking here and saying, okay, doesn't matter to us. You and me, the sanctimonious ones that are all about, the advancement of good.
Good fight, yeah.
Yes. My God.
I care about people's health. If you're a grown adult, I'm all about freedom for the most part. And it doesn't change when it's sports. Do I watch rugby when it's all tackling? No, it's a little bit too much.
How about I saw some clips? There was a piece on 60 Minutes about Australian rules football.
Yeah, it's too much. Ken can watch.
I didn't realize how they crush each other in this game.
It's too much. Some things are too violent for me. I will admit it. But I won't tell those men they can't do it. It's not my right to tell them they can't do it. And I'm not being a hypocrite. I'm being honest. Like humans, I've reconciled this. Would my kids play? No. When they get old enough, if they tell me, go fuck yourself, Dad, I'm going to play, I can't stop them. But at an early age, they're not going to be allowed. But if those guys want to go play and they're going to get
decision
rewarded, it's not on me to tell them no. That's why with the safety shit with the NFL, you and I laugh at it because I'm glad they're trying, but I think it's a joke. Like it's never going to be safe. You have 200. You've said this.
It can't be.
Purpose. Now you're getting 3. We saw a 280-pound dude who was 6'6" run like a 4'6". Are you kidding me?
I mean, broken bones mean nothing compared to the overall damage that could be done, and yet every Sunday we line up, want to see every game. No, it's crazy.
So that's the
Get
thing.
that guy off the field. Let's go.
No, I've taken.
No, you never do that. You're not like the Philadelphia fans here. All right. Are the Jets going to sign Fuzzy Thurston just to appease Aaron Rodgers? I mean, they signed Randall Cobb. I mean, I thought this guy was finished. Is he still? Has he been in the league like 10 years? Randall Cobb, was he any good last year? He was still with the Packers?
He wasn't. He didn't do anything.
No, nothing. All right, so what's next? Like Ray Nitschke? I mean, who else are they going to sign? They're going to get Paul Horning back from the grave. But the Jets, doing everything they can to appease Aaron Rodgers, who seems to be having a ball in New York. Shohei Ohtani, do we underappreciate Shohei Ohtani largely because he's on the West Coast and we don't get that much West Coast stuff here in South Florida? I mean, sure, we get plenty of coverage about the Lakers and Golden State.
That's it.
But do you really, I mean, did anybody really see that game, the other night?
No, what do you do?
People stay up, on the East Coast, right? I'm in bed at 10 o'clock. What are you talking about? I can't take this. Obviously they can't start the games in the afternoon during the week, for the local audience. So, they are starting these games at 6 o'clock West Coast time. When does that late game come on the postseason? First game's usually like 7, and then 9:30. They have their late game, so it's 6:30 on the West Coast.
Okay,
but I mean, we don't get that much. I mean, with the Lakers, you're always going to have with the marquee and Steph Curry, that's going to draw attention here. But other than that, I mean, because Shohei Ohtani not only plays on the West Coast but doesn't play for the Dodgers.
That's what it is. It's the West Coast, and it's the ugly stepchild,
the redheaded stepchild of all redheaded sports stepchildren.
That's what it is. Yeah,
is what I meant to say.
Yes.
Was I saying that he was a Branch Davidian, Shohei Ohtani? No. Stuff's starting to blend together. Anyway, he reaches a distinction that's held by only one other man, Lubie.
Okay.
And who might that man be? He has now 500 strikeouts, as he struck out like 100 guys the other night, and 100 home runs. And there's only one other man in baseball history who has struck out 500 hitters and hit 100 home runs, and that man would be?
Babe Ruth, right? Who else?
The Bambino. Yes, very good. It was not Mark Fidrich. The Bambino did it. So he's in the same company as the Bambino as a double threat, a dual threat, and had been pitching lights out. I think he got touched for a couple of runs last night, but he had been unbelievable. I think he was like 4-0 with a minuscule earned run average. And then on top of that is hitting the ball very well. Brian Cashman has spoken. Brian Cashman.
Oh, yeah.
Says, it might be my fault, man. But of course, injuries have beset the New York Yankees, who are sitting there, I believe, at 16-15, and at the very bottom of a just absolutely highly potent AL East. At the bottom,
walking up,
they're below everybody, man. And the Rays are writing just an amazing story so far this year. I know they got off to the 13-0 start.
It's like 14-0 or something stupid.
They're sustaining it. I mean, even though they lost a couple of games here, a couple of bumps along the way, pretty incredible. Your Miami Marlins, Lubie, should we address this ugliness that's going on lately?
They're horrendous. Sarni can say, well, it's just that they struggle against the Braves and Mets. Are good against everyone else. First of all, they played the Braves and Mets more, so the games against the other people are aberrations. Second, who gives a shit? The Braves and Mets are in their division. I think they have to be good against the Braves.
I mean, you have to be good against these teams. Braves are pretty remarkable.
Yeah, they're a great team.
Yeah,
they're a team that's
no doubt.
to the Rays. They're 21-10. They're the one team close to the Rays.
Here's what I keep looking at. Where am I going around? Okay, they had to leave this guy Braxton Garrett in the game last night because he got clobbered in the second inning. I think he gave up 7 runs in the second inning. And he ends up going 4 1/3, 14 hits, 11 earned runs. Braxton Garrett. This is one of the guys that you're counting on in your rotation. In support of Braxton Garrett, we have to give a special, a high-level compliment to Louis Arise, who's still maintaining a batting average well above 400 at 432. This guy goes 1 for 3, and his average drops. That's how sharp this guy's been. And Gurriel, is it Yanni Gurriel? Is that who we have? Yanni Gurriel?
It's isn't it?
Is it Yuri? I don't think it's Yuri. Is there a Yuri, a Yanni? There's
Yuri Gurriel.
Moish Gurriel, I think we have.
I think there's only one Gurriel, and I think it's Yuri.
I thought he had a brother, man. I thought we had the brother.
We have a brother, but we have Yuri Gurriel.
Oh, you do? Okay. All right. He's hitting 310, so that's good. He gets a pass. The rest of these guys, I'm sorry, Tommy Hutton. I love you, man. I love Tommy Hutton, and he's been doing the games. And I don't know, he must be really, thank God for Tommy there, because you would need somebody with a personality to, do the blowout material like this. But the batting averages are especially pathetic, Lubie.
It's Yuli Gurriel, but I don't know. Is there a Yuri?
There's a Yuri, yeah. It's his brother. I thought it was Yanni.
I don't know who Yuri is.
Yeah, it's not that Gurriel. It's another Gurriel, my friend. All right, so we have Jazz Chisholm hitting 239. What's that?
There's only one. There's
only one?
Yes. I don't know if the fuck a Yuri.
There's no Yuri Gurriel?
Maybe in the world, but when I'm looking.
I created a ball player right here on the show.
When I put in either Yuri.
I could swear this guy had a brother. I don't know where I got that idea from.
May have a brother, but when I put in either name, they come up with the same person.
Oh, yeah? Okay. So there's only one guy. Maybe Sonny can straighten us out here. I wouldn't mind at all some input on this because I'm fantasizing that this guy has a brother. And you're going to follow my Derby picks? I haven't given any picks yet. I've just said that I'm going to, as usual, I mean, almost as if I was Ed Sheeran, I'm going to just copy somebody else's work here and claim it's my own.
Oh, God.
No?
What did I don't even know that reference.
Oh, the Ed Sheeran, he's being sued. I think, is it Marvin Gaye? No. The estate of Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye checked out a while ago, right? I mean, that's got to be a long time ago. He's being sued for copyright infringement. The implication is that one of his songs, I don't know the title of it, was a direct ripoff of a popular Marvin Gaye song. I think that's how the story goes. Anyway, I want to say that. And he says that if he's convicted of this, it's now at the jury, the decision in this civil lawsuit. And he says if he loses this case, he's finished with music because he can't believe that his hard work would be being dissed like this, which was the same position, in a way, that Gerard Gallant took at a press conference yesterday when they continued to pester him about his job status. And Gallant has a little bit of a short fuse when it comes to things that, he finds somewhat abrasive in terms of questioning his integrity. And so he basically told the New York press to fuck off. It was great.
He's going to last long. So he won't be there very long.
No, I mean, he didn't put it that way. I'm paraphrasing what he said, which was that he can't believe, how could you throw these questions at me? Why should my job be in question? And if you think about it, I mean, look, he took a better team to 7 games before losing. Granted, they were flat in like 3 of the games, but they were in a position to win the series. And, who knows what happens after that, right? Well, as we're finding out with the Florida Panthers, right? You would have thought, oh, my God, they just beat the Bruins. So, they're going to go out and, have a flat effort against Toronto in game number 1. And what do? I mean, they absolutely zing it to them.
Yeah, they pounced on them. They already got the penalties because they were just being aggressive, and they weren't penalties, but they were aggressive. Yeah, I mean, that's true. There is another Gurriel, but again, my contention was that it's not Yuri. He has a brother, which is what I said. Look, he probably has a brother in life. Good for him.
So do we have Yuri or the brother?
No. There's no Yuri. It's Yuli Gurriel.
Yuli, okay. No, Yuri.
Lourdes.
Yuri Schwartz was a dentist that I remember from Brooklyn. I don't know where I'm getting this Yuri from. Lately I'm losing it with first names especially. I can barely remember De La Hoya, and then you asked me what his first name was, and I'm saying like Luis.
Lourdes Gurriel is on the Blue Jays. And
Okay.
again, fine. My contention was there's no Yuri. Yuli's on the Marlins. No, Yuli was on the Astros. He's now on the Marlins. Yuri Gurriel has the second highest average on the Marlins. And
that was a quiet acquisition by Kim Ng that, sort of, I think because they had announced that he was going to be a Marlin. I don't know that they made it official, but it was known that he was going to be a Marlin, and then something happened, and there was a gap in time before and as you were thinking that deal never happened, all of a sudden he had signed, I believe. I don't know what held it up, but and so far that's been very fortunate for the Marlins that they did make this signing, because he's the only guy that can hit besides Arise.
Yes.
And everybody else has like a pathetic batting average. Jorge Soler, who Sarni loves, Yuri and drop off.
Now you're just throwing out Yuri's. Famous Yuri's.
Yuri Foreman. I mean, Andy should be all over this, right?
Isn't the fighting rabbi Yuri?
The fighting rabbi. The fatting rabbi.
Yeah, fatting is more like it.
There's also a Yuri Foreman. But boy, that was a sad effort that day at Hialeah Park, wasn't it? I mean, you really felt for the guy. You felt for their entire religion, did you not? If you had denounced your Judaism after that fight, it wouldn't have been inappropriate. That's what a disgrace it was. I know Andy loves the guy, and he seems like a very, very good soul, this Yuri Foreman. I respect the boxing rabbi. No, come on, man.
He waited till after the Sabbath. He wouldn't fight on a Friday night because it's the Sabbath, so I appreciate that. But maybe he
shouldn't have fought on any night. Why is this night different from all other nights? Because Foreman's on the undercard. He did have that one good fight against Miguel Cotto. He actually held his own against the great Puerto Rican champion, Miguel Cotto, and that was, I think, at like Yankee Stadium or something. You would have thought it was back in the day there, when you had some of these great fights at Yankee Stadium, like Ali and Norton. I was going to say Ed Norton. That's how bad that is. Ken Norton.
Ken Norton was a great fight.
Ali should have fought Ed Norton instead of Larry Holmes that night. That's for sure. All right, so our hats off to Brian Cashman for coming forward and saying part of this, slump by the Yankees is his fault.
Thanks, Brian. We're
25 years of being a stiff, Brian Cashman, with all the capital in the world that you can invest in ball players. And what are you doing? You're paying Giancarlo Stanton $300 million to play 12 games a year. That's unbelievable. Everybody that he acquired, I mean, I don't know that this is on the GM, but, everybody that he acquired is hurt, including, you have Stanton and Judge on the injured list. Why would we be making excuses for the Yankees? They are really bemoaning the fact that the Yankees stink so far in New York. And that's part of the beauty of getting the New York Post sports section 5 pages about how the Yankees suck. Yeah, so, if you're not a Yankee fan, which at one time I was a diehard Yankee fan, but I'm indifferent at this point. If they do well, it's kind of good for the game, is it not? Leslie Visser would disagree. And any Met fan would disagree, right? The Met fans despise the Yankees. I mean, like no other hatred that I've seen in terms of sports emotion. If you talk to a Met fan about that, they just as soon be in last place themselves as long as the Yankees lose. It's that kind of mentality. It used to be that way. I mean, we used to have that level of rage towards New York Jet fans here, but that's no longer the case, Louis. In fact, I believe some Dolphin fans, as weak as the Dolphin fan base is, will defect and become Jet fans again this year. What do you think? With Aaron Rodgers in there. No?
Dolphin, Jets. I heard that part. Mayo just threw out something fucking crazy, and he threw me off.
Oh, yeah?
The coronation will be the biggest celebration.
That's a good comment by Mayo. It really is.
Alabama Auburn game. I don't think this is actually inbreeding. Remember, isn't she like out of the...
It's not inbreeding. I mean, they're all over the place, man. I mean, Charles was banging a couple of chicks at the same time, at least.
Yeah, I don't think that was inbreeding, and definitely the horse, whatever.
I don't know that Lady Di was the overwhelming babe that everybody made her out to be. I mean, she was an attractive woman. She had a certain element of appeal to her physically, but and not that looks is everything, obviously. But if you were just going to base this strictly on looks. But how do you jump out of bed with her and then jump in a sack with Camilla Parker Bowles?
I don't think
No, I mean, how do you do that, honestly? I mean, all of a sudden, I don't want to say this because it sounds, pretty crass, but you're banging your mother, grandmother. I mean, right? And he's got this hot babe that everybody in the world has some kind of desire for. Men and women alike loved Lady Di, did they not?
Yes, they did. She was a worldwide
I
star.
would have hung on to her, right? But my dad told me this about the Paulie man, which you can see why, right? I mean, my dad, who's been gone now for over 10 years.
Yeah, our first year was.
Yeah, like 10 years. And he always said, don't ever lose the Paulie man because, as an entertainer, the guy is great for whatever it is that you do. He fits it like a glove.
He does. He's
true. Yeah. So, but you should have never. I mean, this guy, if he wanted to enhance his popularity, he got to be king anyway, I guess. So what difference does it make?
He knew he was set regardless, and it's all about ego.
His mother hung on for a long time, though, huh?
Yes, she almost made 100, didn't she?
I always tell my son that don't root for my death because I don't have the fortune accumulated yet that you might be, thinking I have from all my many years in broadcasting here.
I think Jesse's well aware of his father's financial status, and
yeah, since I had to borrow $100 off him last week.
He went the opposite direction. He went to a very straight-laced, stable profession.
he didn't really want to do that, though. I mean,
obviously, but
yeah.
He did. In the end, he's like, all right.
Being practical sometimes probably is beneficial, as opposed to just being, on the lunatic fringe all the time, out there trying to be a so-called artist of sorts.
I'm married to one who's the queen of practicality.
Yeah.
And is very talented and could have done whatever she wanted in life. And she went practical. And my dumbass, or whatever you want to call me.
It's going to pay off for you, Lubie. You're just getting started, man. Sure. I didn't really get rolling in this business till I was 40 either. So, your future is clearly in front of you. And it's not as bleak as you would think.
I don't think it's bleak or positive. I don't know what it is. I'm just saying, what does that say about me? It is what it is at this point.
Because certain people are not, made to do that sort of thing. I mean, you just can't go with regular parameters and guidelines. I couldn't stand it when I worked a couple of 9-to-5 jobs very, very briefly. And hated every second of it. I mean, literally was tortured. It reminded me, I've said this many times, of Mr. Tideman's social studies class when I was in the 11th grade. And it was torture. I mean, everybody's done this, right? At some time in high school or junior high, where I mean, it's excruciating. And you're begging yourself, like you're asking yourself not to go to the fridge when you're trying to lose weight. And you're saying, what am I doing standing in front of the refrigerator? How is this helping my quest for perfection? It's not, right? There's nothing in this box that I should be ingesting right now that's going to help me. And so you would tell yourself in that same fashion, don't look at the clock. Whatever you do, don't look at the clock. Don't. And what happens? You look at the clock and not even a minute's gone by. The second hand is still like...
Oh, no, that was the worst. It was like that in school when I worked at Publix because I was a bagger and they would yell at me for talking to people. So anything... use time, they didn't like me doing that. So
no, they're pretty strict there, man, at Publix.
It was really boring. Like I would work 3-hour shifts. So you think 3 hours nothing, but I was like 15 and I'll be like, all right, good. An hour's gone by, an hour and a half, and it was like 4 minutes. I'm like, what the fuck?
It was torture. Yeah, I had that same thing when I was working at Fortunoff's for a week, which was a store, a department store that was very popular in New York, and it was right next to, you'll find this surprising, Roosevelt Raceway. So I could go straight from the store to the track. But I had to work a week. I had run out of capital one summer when I was home from school. And, I had given up the job at Shea. And so, very reluctantly, I went and took like a regular job. And I was tormented by it. And I said I could never do this no matter what. So I found every other way to dodge like the system. And, as I said, Lubie, earlier in the program, there shouldn't be a day that goes by that you don't at least address in some way a way that you might be able to beat the system, even if it's only for a few seconds. All right. And the Derby is one of them. And that's coming up on Saturday. All right. So we have Kate Bradar tomorrow. We'll have the Gambling Gourmet tomorrow. And he has big opinions on this. And they're to be respected. And this is going to throw us off even further because I don't think that Mike Mayo, and I'm not sure where Caton stands. Obviously, we'll find that out tomorrow. But I don't know that either of them are going to be anywhere near the ballpark of the Paulie man, whose opinion I have great respect for also. And, and then Jersey Kyle throws in this Skinner.
Yeah, I just can't get behind 12 horses. So And I appreciate Jersey. He's actually good at handicapping as
Very
well.
good at this
That's
stuff.
what
Yeah.
gets fucking annoying is all you people have all these different ideas. Mayo has fought you. Mayo's firmly behind Forte. Now again, he's also like you.
I don't disagree with him. I mean, there's reason to believe that horse will win. I'm not discounting that by any stretch. It just takes the romance out of it, doesn't it?
Well, but that's the thing is he, as much as behind Forte, he also was a horse racing degenerate. So there's no way he's going to go all in on chalk alone. So I'm sure he's going to have some flyers, and it's going to be fucking annoying.
If you don't have a bunch of bombs in your Derby exotics, you're out of your mind. I mean, you know it's going to happen.
Yep.
If it doesn't, then that's the year that you lose. Okay, I mean, but you're playing for. You only have to hit maybe once every 5 years to be way out of the game.
Yep.
If you're investing, say, $100, maybe you pool the money with another guy, like I might do this year. So you got maybe a deuce bet. It's not overwhelming. If you lose, okay, you had a good time, right? Cancel my donation to that charity. I'm going to be going to some charity event to watch this thing, and naturally there'll be a hustle on to try to sign you up to the male version of whatever this is. It's called Royal Dames or something, Libby. Royal Dames, and they are truly royal. I mean, these are very well-to-do people for the most part, and they do a very good thing. Their cause is extremely noble. So I would normally be willing to contribute, but can I give them my losing trifecta ticket and just say, here, if I win, you got a piece, and if I lose, you lose with me. That'd be the way to go. But we're wide open. Now we'll have more handicapping on that. Kate and Brader, the gambling gourmet, no doubt. Mike Mayo will want to weigh in, but he loves Forte in this race. Loves him.
He does. He that's and that's my curiosity is it's hard for me to believe that Forte Tabit Trice won't get in the top 3. So it's like if you're doing exotics, what do you do? You just leave them out entirely, and then now
but anything can happen. Literally, I mean, I know it's cliche to say, but literally in the Derby, anything can happen. I mean, a horse could be fanned out into the parking lot. Well, all of a sudden, you were there, Lubie. I mean, you see these 20 horses break.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And you see all those cars that are out there in the first turn. It's kind of like the days when I was at the Pomona Fair in California. And, if your horse didn't make the first turn, didn't navigate this very sharp, bullring-like turn, literally you would look and they would be hanging from the Ferris wheel. You talk about a cruelty to animals issue. That was it right there. And what was then known as Fairplex and then became extinct altogether. But I love that place. It was as crooked a track as you could possibly find, Libby. Even the donkey races were fixed. That's how great it was.
Even
quarter horse races. I mean, the horses still had the syringes in their flank. It was fantastic. And the thoroughbred races were as not on the level as you could possibly find. It was if you could get in on the fix, you were in good shape. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. We'll wrap things up. And then later on today, 12 o'clock, we're at, this is good, Wicked Cheesesteaks. And here's the deal. The first 15 people that show up today and say the secret word to Brian and or anybody there.
We're giving him the word. You're getting hung up on the Groucho Marx, Pee Wee Herman thing where when someone just says a word.
I mean, it would be impossible to figure this out. I mean, you're going to come to the store there and start just spewing out words. You'd be like us today on the show. With no plan, no rhyme or reason. Okay, is it Brian's standing there getting ready to make a couple of sandwiches. Yeah, the secret word is lunchbox.
Say the word lunchbox, and if you're one of the first 15 people to say the word lunchbox, you will get a mayo sandwich. It's broccoli raw.
It's a freebie. It's a great one too. Yeah, I mean,
it's a nice sandwich, and it's big. Yeah. It'll definitely fill you up, and you could probably split with someone else. So
come on out, yeah.
Brian's gift to you. So
I mean, that's a very generous offer. 15 people. It's not like the first 5.
No, that's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, they're not the Marlins. It's a sandwich place. It's
yeah. I mean, only the first 100 kids under 5.
That's a lot.
The bobblehead, yeah, with the Marlins. That'd be the Panthers, though. I mean, they never rescinded that policy about not selling tickets to anybody that didn't have a U.S. residency. Like if King Charles came here, he couldn't go to the Panther game tonight.
He couldn't.
He couldn't even charge it to the UK.
Yeah,
all right.
The horses, and we'll go to break. The horses Mayo put up, not one's a horse we've talked about. Not one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So by tomorrow, especially with Jersey, and Caden's going to have 2 or 3 other randoms, there's going to be like 12 horses that are in play.
And a Japanese, animal. What's it called? Derma Shotogaki. Derma Shotogaki.
I hate all.
Isn't he a defenseman for the New Jersey Devils? Here's Shotagaki. No, they don't have a lot of Japanese influence.
The Taiwanese baseball league.
Yeah. Okay, Shotagaki coming up to play, to the bat. He's 2 for 4 in the game. All right, back in a moment. Now that.
The time.
8:54.
Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodzie, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodzie, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
Where, the professor has now been obsessed. He was betting all kinds of weird stuff. I almost said something that rhymes with zit. During the pandemic, right? That would have been 2 weeks in a row. Right? What's going on with that brain, DeForest? You better get that Prevagen. You got any jellyfish I can eat? That seems to be the thing that restores your memory.
Jellyfish.
Do you buy into that?
No.
As Diana Nyad would have never forgotten a thing if that was true. She was swallowing jellyfish from Havana to Key West.
That was sick. What was that? That was disgusting. That poor woman's face. I mean, you talk about looking like Chuck Wepner. She looked like Chuck Wepner when they pulled her out of the water.
She was wearing a jellyfish on her head that looked like a yarmulke, right? I thought she was straight out of shul. I'm like, wow.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
All right, we've done our best to confuse you on a variety of things. A hard-hitting discussion about, can we condone violence in sports? And, of course, this stemmed from, tragic circumstances that have unfortunately been afflicting 4 horses at Churchill Downs. Very, very, very weird set of circumstances, like one in a zillion, as the Paulie man was saying. Well, we didn't really get too deeply into the Marlins, except to say that 200 is a pretty fat. The Mendoza line. They should have Mario Mendoza on the uniforms. His picture should be somewhere at Lone Shark Park, should it not? Mario Mendoza is a standard that we're trying to eclipse here, as we have any number of guys either hovering right around 200, barely above it, or significantly below the deuce, the dreaded deuce. 200. Used to be considered a disgrace.
Oh, yeah.
To hit 200. And now, we have even astute and very knowledgeable sports fans like Jim Sarney are trying to get us to applaud Jorge Soler in his second year with the team after a disastrous first year, being a clever pickup by Kim Eng, the general manager, even though he's hitting 202. Or as they say in the game, 2-0-fucking-2.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. That's not going to cut it. I'm sorry, man. I don't mean to go Stephen A. Smith on this guy because, I'm sure he's a fine character, but that is such ugliness. Anyway, they get blown out by the Braves last night. This Braxton Garrett, 14 hits. Did they leave him? I think they ended up, using position players to pitch at the end of this ball game also. Did they have Stallings come in?
That's Sarney's big thing is that Stallings got out Acuna. I'm like, yeah, they were down by 30.
Well, and that's the only way you could justify Stallings' anemic batting average of 128 is that he's a pitcher now. Right? And you're saying, okay, that's a pretty good hitting pitcher. He's hitting 128. All of a sudden, he's David Cohn, right? Was Cohn a good hitter? I think he was. I want to say yesterday. David Cohn, yeah, decent. He wasn't Bob Gibson, though. I mean, it wasn't like he was going to go the opposite way and hit a homer for you. I mean, and that was all part of the discussion today, for sure. The Marlins suck, and Lubie is very happy about that for some reason. Although I do want to go to a game. I want to go to a game, though. If we go to a game, do we want a crowd or we want no crowd? Because that would be most games. But, do we go on a weeknight?
I would probably go weekend. Weeknights are tough. That's like Starting was giving me shit about not going to the Heat games. Like I'm this old curmudgeon, but like ever since we started doing this,
it's a schlep, man.
Tough. I did the finals because it was the freaking finals, and yes, I was on worldwide questioning Wade, and it was a really cool moment, and I enjoyed being there. But it's not easy, and I'm not bitching. What we do is amazing, and we can never complain. But there's a reason we don't go to a lot of games anymore. It's just waking up. Even now, I wake up later and I'm at home, and that's amazing. I'm still up early as sin. Like to be there till by the time that and if you're going to the game to cover it, you have to stay to the end. See, my inclination is to leave at halftime. Okay, then what the fuck's the point to go to leave at halftime? So to stay to the end, by the time the game's over, it's like 10:30. It's like a half an hour until they bring them out to talk. So now it's 11. By the time they're done talking, it's 11:30. Now you're walking because they don't give you parking, and the park at the Heat's like $40-$50. So you're wandering through Miami at 12
You're in Bayside somewhere on the upper deck, and there's a traffic jam.
No, but that's the thing. See, you're smarter than me. I would park in the hood where they sell the arepas is where I park. So
that's forget about that.
The last car. That's what I used to do. So by the time I leave, it's 12. I don't get.
I just picture a fungo bat going through my front windshield, and somebody, I don't wear any jewelry, but. That thing with Jan Stevenson, I still haven't forgotten that, even though that was like 35 years ago.
So anyways, by the time I come, it's 1. I have to be up at like 5 something. Like, it's just, I'm not trying to complain. It's still cool to go to games, but that's why I rarely go. Like, it's just.
So that's tough. You know what? Look, you don't necessarily have to go there. I mean, obviously you get more of the atmosphere and you would like that. But it would be prohibitive to go down and cover a Heat game, and there's not that much reason. I mean, unless you were going to bring back some so-called natural, sound bites and whatever. But do you really want to hear from these guys after the game? If you didn't care to witness it when it was happening live, then what do we need to hear? Well, you know what? We got a good team. They got a good team. 2 good teams get together. It's going to be a good ball game.
That never did anything for me. So, anyways, I would go on a weekend. Short story long. To answer your question.
A Marlin game on a weekend. Maybe we can do that. A Saturday night, one night. I'll bring the grandkids and see if they like baseball.
My nephews like baseball enough. Shirley, that's the one thing Shirley will do is go
kids dig hockey, though. They do dig hockey.
Oh no, my nephew, my brother would take my nephews to the hockey games. It's over. I'm not and to fork the money for a playoff game.
Oh no, I'm not forking over 400 there. Take 5-year-old Christian to the game. I mean, no matter what kind of grandpa you want to be, that's not happening. All right, we got to run. We're making no sense here today. I mean, we really fudged our way through the show, which was great. I don't know how we got into that one discussion, but that lasted about 20 minutes, and I'm not sure we accomplished anything.
No one had a problem with it. People went along with us.
It is interesting. I mean, what you're willing to condone and look the other way, because we're often critical of people for saying, oh, my God, you didn't pick up that dog poop. You don't care about the other people and the environment. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it's good for the environment. Just leave it there. Might not be good for your shoes. Do you think karma will strike me down and I'm going to, doomed to step in dog crap the rest of my life? Just because if nobody's looking, Skippy's getting away with one?
Oh, you don't? Oh, no, I always pick it up.
You always do? Okay.
It's freaking weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like
I'm always worried that if I bend over too low, that I won't be able to get back up again at this stage.
Do you kick it or you just leave it? You don't even cover it? You just leave it?
Yeah, Skippy does a good job at that. All right. They do that thing with their feet, the back feet. Yeah.
My in-law's dog, though, what's great about him is he does the kicking nowhere near the poop, though.
Just kicks the dirt on you, yeah.
That's why.
We don't want to get into this. All right. Wicked cheesesteaks. Come in and ask for Brian or Mayo or anybody. We'll be there. What from about maybe 11:30, quarter to 12,
That's a
and then
little
we're going to be there from 12 to 1 with the show. But if you come into Wicked cheesesteaks today, and I'm hoping a lot of our friends show up, and you say the word lunchbox. Is the secret word. You will get a free if you're one of the first 15. Now, I don't know. I mean, that's going to get a little shaky because what happens after the 15th person? Number 16 comes in and go, I'm sure the sandwich is only like $10 anyway, and it's worth every penny. So
you're not saving that much money, but it's a cool gesture. It's
a very nice gesture. The guy's giving up like $150 worth of merchandise or something.
Sandwiches are not ridiculous. Yeah. If you're 16th, you're not taking a big L.
This sandwich could be $20 anywhere else, and it would be worth it.
No, it's a big sandwich.
There's no doubt. And even if you're not inclined to order the mayo sandwich for whatever reason, they have a zillion other things there that are absolutely fantastic, including like great pizza. Yeah,
the Defo is really good. I like the Defo, especially for like a lunch when you don't want a big.
I thought that was great. I really did. But then Mayo went on this promotional campaign, and he hired Kellyanne Conway to go ahead and state his position. Became a right-wing extremist, this guy.
They're making shirts, like banners.
He got T-shirts. He's got billboards on I-95. It's incredible. And he's like, well, I'm beating your ass. I'm like, great. I never claimed that I was going to have any sensation here on the market. I'm glad they did that, but...
You've never talked about the sandwich once.
Never. I even, I had to remind myself they had one.
He's getting Spicer.
Yeah. So he's got it reviewed in, like high-end, critic magazines, about food. He's got Guy Fieri having one. I mean, it's unbelievable. Portnoy is going in there and saying, forget the pizza. I'm going to try this mayo sandwich. Oh, but I'm beating you, Defo.
I hope you're winning. That would really be sad if you're not. Defo's never mentioned the sandwich. Defo doesn't even know what's on the sandwich.
No, I had a bite of it the last time. It was fantastic. It really was nice. I mean, because you're thinking traditional cheesesteak should go on like the regular roll, that you would normally associate it with it, and it was on like a Kaiser roll almost.
Like a sandwich. Actually the funny thing is, we want more food, but I can't really eat it all.
Yeah.
So you are too full. It's actually the perfect size for a cheesesteak.
It's very good. Yeah, no, very good. All right, we'll be out there and come in and come screaming the word lunchbox. And the first 15 people that do so today at Wicked Cheesesteaks, just south of Commercial Boulevard on the east side of Federal Highway. A nice spot. They do a lot of great things there. They really do. It's fantastic. We love going there. And you'll love the mayo sandwich if you're one of the first 15 to scream out lunchbox. But when you come in, and you get a free sandwich there.
Yes.
I would imagine, you should probably purchase some other stuff too,
Oh, that's what I'm thinking. It's a good starting
Get some of their fries, man. They're fantastic.
The mac and cheese bites are great. They do quesadillas.
The wings, and they had that tater tot thing working.
He does almost everything.
Yeah.
I'm tacos soon.
I'm a cheesesteak guy, conventional cheesesteak guy with some hot sauce, man. That's what I like.
They do a great job with that, of course.
Yeah, and those are fantastic. All right, we'll see you then, 12 o'clock today. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, an opportunity to pick up some free lunch if you say the word lunchbox when you come to Wicked Cheesesteaks later on and are among the first 15. I have to keep giving that qualifier, Libby.
Yes, because our people with Let's Eat, they'll be the 40th.
Oh, yeah. Somebody will come schlepping in there.
It's your fault because, no, we told you.
I drove all the way from Palm Beach.
Well, then grab a cheesesteak and you'll have a good day.
Here's a gas card and get out of here. All right, we'll see you then as we leave you on that.
The time.
It's 9:07.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.